much. Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. It's another beautiful day at Abu Dhabi Finance Week, and today we are joined by the one and only CEO of Abu Dhabi Islamic Bank, Mr. Mohammed Abdelbari. Mr. Mohammed, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Mike.
So the main topic that we're going to be discussing the next 15 minutes is Islamic finance. And when we talk about Abu Dhabi Islamic Bank, we're talking about one of the leading banks in the region. We're talking about assets over 220 billion. So when you look at the Islamic finance sector overall, and especially in the UAE, what trends in your mind are shaping this sector?
Very good. First of all, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Mike, for having me today. It's a great honor to be speaking at this event. So if I just take a step back and look at the wider Islamic universe, I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that if I look at growth year on year, we've seen that the Islamic universe has been growing at exponential rate compared to the wider banking industry. Now, if we zoom in and what are the trends which have recently changed in the Islamic finance universe, I would possibly classify it into a few things. And it's also not divorced from the wider global trends. Number one, the use of technology and generative AI has become absolutely important, not only in the way we do banking, but also in Islamic finance as well. Number two, it has come with a regulatory framework which will govern the way we utilize that technology, because it's important that as we grow and almost explore new avenues, the framework is super important. Number three, at the heart of everything we do, I think comes the client. I think sometimes we tend to forget the client piece, but at the end of the day, we are solving for a client outcome. Everything else is an enabler. So going back to your point, what are the trends we're seeing in Islamic finance? Very simply, we are solving for client needs who are now very different than in the past. We are supporting them with technology and generative AI, and we are ensuring that we're doing it in an Islamic and social and ethical manner to ensure long-term creation of value.
So let's talk about each of these criteria that you just mentioned. And you mentioned the changing consumer and client requirements. To what extent have we seen that post-COVID? COVID was a huge event that reshaped every industry. To what extent do you think that it has also reshaped the Islamic finance landscape?
100%. So if you look at the phases in the past, even decades, the pace of change has accelerated and shortened. Right? So when we look at how we moved Islamic finance from the traditional way of almost banking to using digital avenues, and then now it's almost like a personalized kind of experience. So the client's expectation has also changed in that dynamic. And what the clients used to accept in the past is not anymore what they would like to expect. And hence, the importance of, again, utilizing, mentioned post-COVID, bringing banking to the client, then the client actually comes to banking is very important. And that's what we're building in the Islamic universe. How do you ensure that the experience of a client when engaging with an Islamic bank is a very satisfying experience? And one point I think is important to note is that 20% of our clients are actually non-Muslims. Right? So it's important to note that Islamic banking is not only for the Islamic universe, but it's starting to be acknowledged as the banking because we are very keen on ethical banking, long-term creation of value, and ensuring that we are also very acknowledged of the society as well. So we have seen more and more non-Muslims actually participating in the Islamic universe as well.
So let's talk about what's happening in the region. Of course, diversification, economic diversification is a hot topic, and this is something that we're seeing multiple GCC countries and governments aiming toward diversification. Do you think that this is something that will support demand for Islamic products?
Yeah, 100%. So I would link it back to what we're seeing in Abu Dhabi, right? So the aim of diversifying the economy is quite visible. And it's part of the national agenda. We've seen it also in some of the announcements we have seen under the sustainable framework. So whether it's the 2030 or 2050 goal. The Abu Dhabi is or UAE is a falcon economy, as we have also seen in the past few days, and we've seen the evolution happening, and meaning that the importance of diversifying channels of growing the economy is quite visible. We have seen industries like tourism, manufacturing, healthcare, but also clean energy. This is now a very important point which some people not acknowledge, that when we solve for 2030 or 2050 goals, we are not compromising on commercial viability, but we're solving for an ultimate goal which will also solve for the sustainability framework.
And what role do you think that Islamic finance will play in sustainability agenda? I mean, we have, of course, green bonds, green sukuk, but there are some risks associated with this type of products when it comes to greenwashing and other. So when you look at the opportunities versus the hazards, how do you see the role of Islamic finance in sustainability agendas?
So we're in a very strong situation because Islamic finance and sustainability are actually on same playing field. Right? We stay for social, responsible, ethical banking and creating long-term value. And hence, if I look at for Adib in specific, we are one of the few banks who are actually rated A on MSCI from an ESG sustainability perspective, because it's in the same DNA, it's in the same culture. So hence, the solution for Islamic finance is quite innovative. You mentioned a few important things. Green sukuks, for example, that's a very important product. So we were the first bank also to issue green sukuks a couple of years ago. And it's important because the way banking has been almost followed in the past few years is now required to be changed in a very few times. So look at hundreds of years of way of doing banking needs to be changed in 10 and 20 years only. Right? And hence there is a lot of intervention required with products which are true value of core Islamic financing, but also so for sustainability goals.
So let me ask the audience here before we talk about a hot topic, technology, fintech, and as well as digitizations. So how many of you actually fully depend on your bank's application on your phone rather than going to the branch? I'm one of them. I do everything online. See, most of the room here, we don't need branches anymore. We can do everything online. So how are you at Adib investing in this mindset of I want to do everything electronically and I don't want to waste time going to the branch and sitting there and waiting for my queue? It's a long process.
Fantastic. I'm very happy to see the hands up as well. So we have a concept called branch in hand. Right? So our aim is to ensure that we replicate every service you can do at the branch is in your hand, basically. That's why it's called branch in hand. And if you look at our mobile application, we are actually almost there. Right? We're not there 100% yet, but everything you do, and that's why so many people actually, if you ask me, when I was last in the branch for a transaction was probably years ago. Wow. Everything you can do on your branch. Are we there yet? 100% not, because the next evolution of the mobile application is actually providing even more personalized experience. So when you actually open your application, what I see might be different than what you see and what the audience sees, because it understands the behavior of the client and starts recommending a customized experience for your needs. And that is the power, again, of Gen AI. Right? You learn enough about what I need, and I solve the very important equation of providing a product to a client he needs, not a product the bank wants to sell. I think that's the important change. It's not what I want to sell you, but it's what you need exactly. Yeah.
So I've got another question for you before we ask Mr. Muhammad. Of course, the Fed is cutting interest rates, and so interest rates in the UAE are going lower as well. How many of you are looking to take a personal loan, a mortgage, some kind of borrowing activity next year? Okay, we've got one too. Okay, I'm going to ask this question for you then. So, is it a good environment to take and borrow money?
So I think it's a cycle. And I think the most important KPI is what has happened in the economy. We have seen almost double-digit growth in financing, right? So financing needs is driven by the strength of the economy and the health of the country itself. So it's not really linked to a specific level of where rates are today, but this health and strength of the economy. That's why even when rates were high, we've seen, at least at Adib's level, we've grown our financing book by almost 19% year on year.
Even with interest rates are at peak?
Absolutely, yeah. Wow. Because we ensure that the product offering, whether it's finance or non-financing, is again tailored to a specific need and suitable to the client. And obviously the external environment has helped us a lot and ensuring that we can achieve that.
So looking at 2025, when you look at Islamic finance landscape, what would you like to see as the CEO of Adib?
I would like to see Islamic finance playing a much bigger role in terms of shaping the future of the industry, not only in the Islamic finance universe. So I think we've been quite active in various forums, but I do think there's an opportunity for us to become even more involved in shaping the future of regulations, not only Islamic finance, but in the industry. The second thing is that we are very good in ensuring that we are providing the products or product innovation suitable for our clients, which is a big plus for us. The one thing where I think we can definitely do better is bringing even more standardization and agility and speed of execution. Right? So that's something which we have a responsibility as leaders in the Islamic universe to do. There are a lot of forums which we're working on. I think we're on the right track to do that. 2025 will be very important for us to deliver that.
You mentioned regulations quite a few times during this discussion. So to what extent do you see that the regulatory environment in UAE for Islamic finance is way ahead of what we're seeing globally? Do you think that there's some kind of a competition happening here when it comes to the regulatory framework?
100%, and I think the UAE is in a perfect situation to lead the Islamic universe. So the ambitions are clear to be the global hub for Islamic banking in the world. I think the regulations are supporting that initiatives. We are very active working with the regulators on that, and I think we have a perfect opportunity to achieve that goal.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Muhammad, in this fireside chat. We wish you the best of luck at Adib and at everything that you do. And thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us for this discussion.
Thank you so much.